This is the Real News Network. I'm Jess Lenore at the 2017 People's Summit in Chicago. I'm here with Chase Iron Eyes from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. Obviously, it's been a pretty momentous last few months for the Standing Rock Sioux. You saw a historic convergence of Native American tribes to oppose the Dakota Access Pipeline. President Obama put a stay on the project. Donald Trump advanced it. It's now been completed. The oil is flowing. Where do the Standing Rock Sioux stand right now?
Well, we're in a tough spot right now. You know, what happened at Standing Rock was one of the largest, most highly impactful international spiritual awakenings. People from all walks of life, whatever human classification we have been born into, race, skin color, religion, we were able to transcend that and to protect, you know, water. Water is life, water is sacred, but there is a pipeline underneath our only drinking source, our only drinking water source. And my 10-year-old son asks me yesterday, Dad, is that pipeline underneath our river? And I had to tell him, I had to stomach that and tell him, you know, man to man, he's 10 years old. He appreciates what's happening. He appreciates that his future could be at risk because of what has transpired. But the fight isn't over. Just, you know, we have to be optimistic. We have to have hope that we can prevent oil from flowing through that pipeline one day. The Standing Rock Sioux Nation has a court claim in the courts of the United States to try to prevent, you know, the oil flowing, in that the environmental impact statement, which Obama had begun when he was president, but which was completely about-faced by President Trump, that the federal law, you know, could actually have impact and that people would have to follow it. But we have begun to transfer our energy to Line 5 in the Great Lakes, the Kinder Morgan fight, the Sable pipeline. There's a number of pipelines, and that's the reactive part, that's the responsive part. We've all had to take different risks. Everybody has a different level of commitment. I'm facing 5 years in prison right now, but on the other side, you know, we are doing solar projects, we're trying to do wind projects, and we're right now I'm just trying to make sure all the water protectors have adequate legal defense. But there's resistance things that we're doing, and then there's constructive things that we will continue to be engaged in.
And talk a little bit about why you're at the People's Summit. You know, we know that President Obama, who's a Democrat, he stopped the pipeline. He didn't completely end it, which many were calling him to do. At the same time, Donald Trump advanced it. And ultimately, it comes down to an issue of money. It comes down to an issue of natural resources. What was your take on Bernie Sanders' position on this? Out of the candidates in the primary, he seemed to be the only one that recognized the historical debt that the United States owes to the indigenous people of this country, and the fact that for 500 years, this country's been breaking promises and stealing land, stealing resources for wealth, essentially.
I think, you know, I came out to the People's Summit because this is where the people who are trying to get woke and stay woke come to meet, whether that's politically or economically or even spiritually. As an original civilizer of this hemisphere, you know, as a member of the Oceti-Sakowin or the Lakota people, we have a duty to protect the land, the sacred sites, and the water, and to try to impart to the American consciousness or the Western consciousness, Western jurisprudence, all of those institutions which were used to colonize us. They were also used to colonize every other human being. I mean, we've all been colonized to some extent. We have a duty to make sure that our modern democracy takes a look at a statement like Mini Wichoni, or water is life, and has the capacity to really appreciate what that means to say that water is sacred. Because when I ran for the United States Congress, in North Dakota, where Bernie Sanders came there and stood on a podium and said we all needed to ban fracking in a state that is dominated by fracking. You could tell that he had the courage to make that statement. And we have to get there. As a people, we've got to be able to take money out of politics, and we've got to be able to the extent possible, we've got to adopt a true cost economy that values water as much as it values oil. We've got to be able to put people over profit and politics and the land. Because as you see in North Dakota, with the criminalization of dissent, you see water protectors, unarmed water protectors who are protecting the commons, the natural resource that belongs to all of us, being labeled as jihadists or eco-terrorists, when in my view and most Native people's views, what we are doing is truly patriotic. We are trying to protect the land, the water, and the sacred sites for the benefit of all of our country, women and men, and for the benefit of the world. So, you know, coming to the People's Summit, even though this is the only the second gathering, you could tell this is where the energy is at. Battle lines are being drawn right now. I mean, while Comey, the head of the FBI, is testifying, they're repealing Dodd-Frank and the Affordable Care Act. It's not. We no longer have to say this is a conspiracy, that, you know, the forces and institutions and logic of capital and property and the oligarchy or the corporatocracy is trying to take over and influence things in their favor. It's out in the open now. It's very much out in the open, especially with decisions.
The mask is off.
The mask is off, and we have to take ours off too. We have to search within and seek a level of commitment to the true sources of not only our economic reality, the water, the land, the natural resources, and the people, but we have to seek a source of legitimacy and moral authority to be here in this country. And that means that we've got to honor our Constitution, our natural rights, our birthrights, and the treaties that we have. That, you know, I'm speaking from, obviously citizenship was imposed upon my ancestors in 1924, but so I have original sovereignty here, but I'm also, you know, I pay state taxes, I pay United States taxes. I'm a tripartite citizen, so I have to function. I've got to code switch and navigate all the time. I'm telling you, we all need to consider this our homeland and be willing to protect it.
And finally, there's going to be many more fights under the Trump administration to come. What lessons do you have for other movements as far as the social media awareness you were able to raise, the money that was able to flow in to the water protectors, and just the education that was able to be done, the mobilizations, the convergence that was able to happen? There's going to be many more needed to stop these other projects. What lessons can you share with the people gathered here and around the world that want to know how they can be better prepared before the next big fight?
That's a great question. As you know, as we've seen, there have been huge breaking stories and information leaks from private oil mercenary private contractors who were at work in the No Dapple fight in Standing Rock. And so they were bringing a level of sophistication and military organization because they had operated in actual oil wars, in actual theaters of war in the Middle East. There was an oil war, and there will continue to be an oil war going on right on our soil. And so we need to be aware of it. We have to understand that the battlefield has shifted. It's about the public narrative. They realized that because they were putting out disinformation. They were engaging in agent provocateur activities, starting vehicles on fire, and then having law enforcement put out press releases that villainize unarmed water protectors. They're criminalizing dissent. State legislatures they're working in tandem with the powers of the corporate state, which is something that we know it, we can feel it in this country. We're inching toward a fascist state, and so we too have to be open about, look, we know what you're trying to do, but we believe, and we believe in hope. We believe that we can liberate Mother Earth, and also, you know, liberate ourselves and protect our constitutional rights, our natural rights, and our birthrights.
All right. Well, Chase Iron Eyes, from Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for the work you guys do.